Hey guys, my name is Matsumo, and today I wanted to introduce you to one of my favorite new gadgets added into Battlefield 4, and that is the Decoy device. When I first learned about this, I was skeptical. I assumed that this was just gonna be another gimmick that DICE was adding into the game, another selling point for the Final Stand DLC, essentially the Riot Shield. But just after a couple hours of playing, I quickly realized that in the right situation, this thing is fantastic. It is a little difficult to get used to. It did take some trial and error, and it does take some time to get a basic grasp on how you should use this. But once you do, trapping your enemy and springing a trap is one of the coolest things that you can do. It is so much fun to use. And so the way it works is quite simple. You can throw this down on the ground. You can't throw it very far. That is one thing that you have to take into consideration. It is a very heavy device. But just after a couple of seconds, it will then activate. Once activated, any enemy within the vicinity will then see on their minimap the nice orange triangle, as if someone is firing their rifle in that exact location. This is where things get amazing. So I was mainly sticking with the MTAR and the suppressor. I wanted to play that stealthy, silent assassin role. I wanted to ghost around and catch my enemy by surprise. And I should mention that this is a recon-only weapon, so you're not going to be able to use assault rifles with this combo. But what I would do when I was capturing an objective is place this down in a corner, a little bit off to the side, not directly on the point or where I am, because that would completely defeat the purpose of this gadget. And then when an enemy tries to identify what the hell is going on this point, they turn the corner to try to, what they think, kill someone. They realize it's Decoy on the ground. I am now directly behind them because I positioned myself superbly, and then I'm able to put a bunch of bullets into their back. When you're able to pull that off, it is one of the most satisfying things that you can do in Battlefield 4, and really, this is the only time we've ever been able to have this type of mechanic in the game. Sure, you could argue that you could sort of set this up by using an unsuppressed pistol, fire it off a couple of times, and then switching over to your silenced or suppressed primary weapon, and then wait for someone to try and figure out what was going on in that area. I guess you could say that, but realistically, this is the first time we have a mechanic or a gadget in the game that allows you to spring these types of traps. The thing about it, though, is that it can be a double-edged sword, and you need to be wary of where you are placing this thing down in relation to where your enemies are. There were a lot of moments when I placed this thing down, assuming that the enemy was all going to come from one direction. I situated myself in the exact spot that would have been perfect for an ambush, but another enemy flanked around trying to figure out what was going on that capture point. They saw someone who was on the minimap, and while they weren't fooled by the decoy device, they realized I'm off in a corner, I'm not expecting them to come from that direction, and they're able to immediately take them out. It doesn't matter that I'm using the suppressor, I'm basically on the minimap at that point. They're trying to figure out what the hell is going on, and then of course I immediately die. That is something that you have to look out for, and this is the reason why it is a very situational gadget. Another great use for this gadget, though, is that it can be an amazing way at causing your enemy to hesitate or to make them assume that they're about to go toe-to-toe with more than one player. There were a lot of moments when a bunch of enemies were about to descend upon me like the wrath of God. I would go behind cover for a couple of seconds, put down my decoy, and then all of a sudden it now looks like there's two people around the bend. If the enemy is smart, they're going to be a little bit more wary now. They're like, oh, it's not just that one recon, we're going to have to take care of one other player. At that point, hopefully I'm no longer spotted. I can get myself into a nice different position, and then either the enemy falls for the decoy, they go for that first, I can then get the drop on them, or it's just a big enough distraction that it gives me that brief half a second to either take out one of the enemy, duck behind cover once again, and then follow through by killing everyone else. It's not easy. I will tell you this, it does not happen very often. Once again, reinforcing the notion that this is a very situational gadget, but I gotta tell you, once again, when you're able to pull it off, when you're able to use this gadget effectively, it is such a gratifying experience. It is simply incredible. Some gadgets that work very well with this is the tugs or the motion sensors. Not only will the enemy think that they have you dead to rights, but you will also know their exact location as they try to go for the kill. It's an amazing combo. I love it. I wouldn't really go with the MAV. You're not really going to want to fly that that thing around. I mean, you could always do that. That could be one way for you to spot the enemy. But because it doesn't act as a motion sensor when you're not flying it around, I didn't really find that to be the best gadget for that slot. And so overall, I'm excited to see where all this pans out in the next couple of months. Are all the recons going to start gravitating on over towards this tool? Is everyone going to expect when they come across a recon to ignore the guy on the minimap? It's going to be some mind games there. If you see a recon, you see the guy on the minimap, you may ignore him, but it may not be his decoy device. There may be other times where you see someone on the minimap for a day and a half, and you're like, oh, that's absolutely a decoy. And so that recon needs to be constantly picking it up so it's not 100% obvious. People already rely way too heavily on their minimap, and to add in a gadget that mixes things up and adds some confusion, it's going to be marvelous. I cannot wait to see how good recons are able to manipulate the minimap and use this gadget to the tactical advantage, because overall, I think it's just going to be fantastic. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this introduction to the new Decoy Gadget. Personally, I cannot wait for this to go live. I think it is going to be amazing once I can start to use it on smaller maps and on smaller game modes. The Final Stand DLC, while I'm enjoying it so far, the maps are massive. Like, it is very vehicle-centric, and so to use what I would say is a more infantry-focused gadget on these massive maps can be a little bit more challenging, but I think that it's just going to be an absolute blast when it does go live. But let me know what you think about this bad boy. Are you enjoying it as much as I am? Can you not wait to get your hands on it when it goes live for consoles? Let me know down below. But until tomorrow, have a good one, and take it easy.